This week on MS Refresh, PowerPoint Presenter Coach moves to the desktop, a bunch of polish updates to Teams meetings and chat, you'll love to see it, and a welcome Office.com refresh on the horizon. All that and more, subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 16 for the work week of March 22nd, 2021. Coming from the East Coast of the U.S., my name is Matt Wade.
And as always, from the West Coast, I'm Sean Bugler.
Sean, what's up for you this week? What's new?
I've got an accounting exam that I got to do right after this, which is...
Dude, I do not miss school.
No,
At all.
Yeah, I remember why I stopped doing this 10 years ago.
Right?
And it's funny because I've started to talk about this more publicly, and people are genuinely starting to ask, why would you do this now? Like, you're fine. And I am. But it's always been this kind of albatross around my neck that I didn't finish something I started. And so
Which is what in this case?
In this case, it's a bachelor's degree. You know, I just closed out my associate's degree.
Sweet.
I think officially like 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
But I was doing that concurrently with the 4-year program. So I'm already pretty far along in the 4-year program. But it's just being done with it. I would love to be done with it.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of going into a science program, which was so naturally, and as you well know, math heavy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I've always hated math. I'm good at it, but I hate it so much.
Says the guy who has 1 million views working on an Excel tutorial.
Right.
Makes no sense.
That is, I obviously like upset a witch at some point in my young childhood. Yeah. They were like,
yes.
You are going to be excellent at something you hate.
Yes. So let me say, there's something I learned in this community, especially since I went from engineer. I started as an engineer in 2009. Kind of fell into IT by mistake, and then left like my initial job in 2015 and kind of like ventured out into the world after 6 years, sort of cooped up into this one place that I had only known that location. And everybody there was super well educated. You had to have a bachelor's degree at least, and like a master's degree was very well thought upon, and there were a lot of PhDs. I was surrounded by, not to define the education level as being very smart, but like I was surrounded by a lot of really smart people. I always felt like maybe not the dumbest person in the room, but like I like that though. I like the challenge. But
Sure.
Once I got into the community here, I came to realize that the education requirement for the jobs that we do makes no sense.
No.
It is completely arbitrarily status quo, inertia biased. And there are so many people out there who, I went to school for civil engineering. I started a minor in computer science and said, after like 2 semesters, this is insanity. I can't do any of this stuff. Once we got to, what were they? Arrays. Way too abstract for me. Like I wanted everything to be concrete, no pun intended. So like, I'm not qualified to do this stuff any more than anybody else that likes to play with buttons and organize things. Like that's really
Right.
the qualification of the stuff that we do. And having an inquisitive and curious mindset. So I have a real appreciation now for just the fact that like literally anybody could do what I do. And I don't say that to like say, go take my job, please. But
But it is to say that anybody can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that it's not hard, because there's just a lot of intricate aspects of it, but it is a challenge to keep up with it and be interested. But I don't know. It's just like the qualification aspect just doesn't make any sense to me, and it needs to be reconsidered. And
And to that end, a lot of the people that like watch this show are people who are interested in like, changing their careers or, taking it
Right.
to the next level. And so to that end, that's a big part of why I do talk about like what I'm going through and what I'm doing now. Like I'm already where I am because I'm just a curious nerd.
Yeah.
You don't have to be obsessive about it, but to
Agreed.
be curious about like what happens when I push this button and what's the best way to do this and why do I do this is all you really need.
Yeah, no, that's true. Totally agree with you. But yeah, hey, good luck, man. I could not be going to school and working at the same time. I don't know how you do that. I'm really glad that I finished my schooling and put the time in before I started work, because I can't juggle the both. And I know we've talked off screen a bunch of times when you've got final exams and reports and stuff that you have to do, and you're doing them like literally right before we record. And for everybody out there, you have probably no idea how much effort Sean puts into both this, and then he goes to oh gee, I think I'll go write a 10-page report for that class that I'm in right now. And it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna go down to the local brewery and have a few beers. So that's our Sundays.
Don't think I don't also drink a lot of beer while
yeah, right. Yeah, well, right, exactly. All right,
How's
cool.
your world?
My world is not really much different from last week, other than it's beautiful outside and we're thoroughly enjoying some nice weather. This is fake spring in the Northeast. We usually get hardcore winter, fake spring, then winter comes back, winter 2, and then we get real spring. So we're enjoying it while it lasts before we have to put our all of our winter clothes back on. So, but with that, I think probably time to kick off into the news.
Let's do it.
This is the news.
Not new necessarily, far from it in fact, but it's been getting some attention recently, so we thought it was worth bringing back up. In June, Microsoft is planning to roll out support for security groups as members of an Office 365 group. This would simplify membership management for organizations where membership is already managed within security groups, like mine. Now, this feature was announced in, get this, 2019. But it's still on the roadmap, and more importantly, it's still receiving updates, so it's not dead by any means. Only time will tell if it's destined to arrive on schedule this time, but we'll see. In a blog post by Derek Johnson, Principal PM for PowerPoint AI, it was announced that PowerPoint Presenter is now rolling out to all platforms. First introduced in the web, PowerPoint Presenter Coach uses artificial intelligence to help you practice your presentation, highlighting things like rate of speech, unnecessary repetition, even body language. Now, you can use this feature on all platforms, on the web, Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. It appears the feature is still rolling out, so it may be another week or two before you see it in your client of choice, but it's a welcome update nonetheless. The steady trickle of classic SharePoint features making their way back to the modern experience marches on. Search scoping control is arriving soon in SharePoint, as soon as next month as a matter of fact. The change will allow users to specify if their searches for content on a SharePoint page, site, list, or library. One item missing from the description was org-wide search, but given Microsoft's efforts to modernize classic features true to form, we expect that's likely an oversight, though by the sound of it, we should see soon enough. Later this month, the My Day pane from Outlook, the calendar and the to-do list panel hiding behind that calendar / checkmark icon in the toolbar? Yeah, that one. Later this month, that is making its way to the Office.com landing page. According to Microsoft, quote, the My Day pane allows users to quickly glance at their Outlook calendar, join meetings, and monitor their to-do list, end quote. This marks yet another pending feature update for the Office.com landing page, following our previous reporting back on December 7th that a catch-up pane would soon be arriving as well. Still hasn't come, still coming. This doesn't happen often. An entirely new view and authoring experience is coming to Microsoft Lists. The ability to visualize your list in Power BI. The new view will auto-generate an initial report for you based on the information available in your list. Naturally, you won't be limited to just what they give you out of the gate. You'll be able to specify which fields to create from, or even update the visuals shown in the report in a more advanced edit mode. The feature will appear underneath the new Integrate menu and is expected to arrive in June of this year. Okay. Oh, buckle up. There was an absolute barrage of Microsoft Teams features that hit the roadmap this past week. So we really like to cover all the good stuff, but we also have a deep respect for your time. And so we present to you, the viewer, the Microsoft Teams Consolidated News segment. Here we go. The list of available emoji in Teams is set to expand from 85 to over 800, complete with a category selector, skin tone selector, and shortcode picker. Note that this is for emojis that you use in chat, not for reacting with like you would in Slack. Boo! Coming in March, the meeting participant roster / list of users is getting some nifty updates that we think educators are really going to love. Starting with the ability to search within the list of participants rather than scrolling through one by one. Beyond that, In addition to separating participants into separate presenter and attendee sections broken up into 20 participant chunks, meeting organizers and presenters will have the option to drill in and view more participants within that section. The lobby is picking up similar functionality, allowing you to review the full list before you admit all into the meeting. The roster will display details of most active participants and, very coveted feature right here, will organize participants in alphabetical order. Also in March, meeting organizers will be able to set a timer for breakout rooms from the breakout room settings. After the timer is expired, rooms will automatically close and participants will come back to the main meeting. Room assignment retention provides the ability to persist room configuration and assignment over multiple sessions, so it doesn't forget what rooms you dropped them in. Very exciting. With participant reassignment capabilities, organizers will now be able to move joined participants across rooms and within the main meeting, also when rooms are opened. Still March. A new meeting setting allowing specific users or groups of users to bypass the meeting lobby. This will include a new, quote, everyone in the company except guests option. So very similar to the everyone except guests in SharePoint. All right, that's March. On to April. Organizers and presenters will soon be able to pin or spotlight up to 7 participants simultaneously during meetings, making sure that the important people don't get lost in the crowd. Staying in April. With the new PowerPoint Live feature rolling out, soon Microsoft will be able to support translating slideshow content privately in a Teams meeting. This way, everyone in a meeting gets to feel like they're at the United Nations with their own private translator. When chatting in Teams, you will soon be able to reply with a specific message. This, think of it like a retweet. Clicking reply will bring a small snapshot of the original message into the reply box as a quote, helping everyone in the chat to more easily understand your message's context. Another fun one for educators, a new Teams administrative policy coming in April will help ensure students are supervised by an educator during private one-on-one or group chats. With supervised chat, students will not be allowed to engage in chats without a supervising educator. Hopefully nothing terrible had to happen to make that feature a reality. Microsoft Teams approval templates are on the horizon for commercial uses in April, with GCC and, surprisingly, GCC High just a couple of months after. Users will be able to choose a template provided by their tenant admins or a team owner when creating a new approval request rather than being burdened with a blank canvas when creating their own. Lastly, on the Teams front, coming in May for the Teams Meeting desktop app experience, organizers will be empowered with the option to lock their meetings, preventing new attendees from joining. Anyone attempting to join a locked meeting from any device will be informed that the meeting is locked. That's all the Teams meeting updates that we've got so far. And finally, to close things out, some sweet, still here Yammer news. Starting next month, admins will be able to designate select communities as official to show that they are company endorsed within the network. Finally, we can let staff know that singles only community wasn't corporate's idea.
That was the news.
All right, awesome. That was a lot of stuff, Sean. What's one of those things in that very long list that kind of stuck out to you this week?
There's been this interesting trend over the last 3-4 months, maybe 5, where Microsoft has clearly been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to organize kind of the surface level, the glanceable insights of our day. You know, we saw it with the My Day introduction into Outlook in the web, you know, that little calendar / to-do icon in the top right where you can kind of see what's on your to-do list, what's on your agenda. And it helps kind of just give you this snapshot of what's going on. It helps you make decisions throughout the day, and so on and so forth. We also see it in the new tab experience of Edge, where you can, yeah, it's really nice. Like you can see what events are happening like right then and there. I mean, what better place to put that than right when you're opening up a new tab? It's just a constant refresh of what's going on. And we talked about something on our December 7th episode, if I'm not mistaken, where Microsoft was starting to, it showed up on the roadmap, Microsoft was starting to work on a UI update for Office.com with the catch-up pane, which would kind of give like a little snapshot of a dashboard of, you know, places where you had been mentioned, or where people had tagged you, or where you had, somebody had touched a document after you had touched it. And all of that, I think, rolls up to this big vision that Microsoft has for trying to make it so innocuous to understand where you are throughout your day, where you are throughout your workloads. It's really exciting to see, and I love it. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but like the Cortana daily agenda thing that comes into the email that's like, hey, here are these emails that had actionable phrases in them. I initially hated it. But when you read it, some of them are like, I did commit to that, or they did ask me
I
to do
totally
that.
forgot that, yeah. I have a love-hate
love that.
relationship with them, yeah. Because sometimes I think it's spam, but then when it's not spam, it's like, boy, I'm really glad that they send me this 19 times a week so that the one time that I forgot, like, actually matters. But hey, sometimes that's what it takes, you know?
Yeah. And so there's all these little snapshots of Microsoft starting to just intelligently hand you on a silver platter, not just what's happening in your day, but what's happening in a project, what's happening in your personal to-do checklist. And I'm really excited about that. And the more that they can embed those experiences into the destinations where I already am. You know, we talked about the new tab experience in Edge, but also Office.com, this idea that there might be a big potential revamp of Office.com to incorporate some of those. And even just, I would love SharePoint web parts that gave me those objects so that I could start to build those out in Spaces as well.
That would be cool. I agree.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Yeah. So what about you? What's something that caught your attention?
So I'm really intrigued with the PowerPoint Presenter Coach coming to the other applications, or like the desktop and mobile apps.
It's here,
so this is
baby.
a feature. Yeah, I know, right? So this feature has been in PowerPoint Online or PowerPoint for the web for a while now, but it was one of those, I need to be connected to Skynet before I can, digest all of the data and come back to you with info. But now you're going to be able to do it from desktop apps and iOS apps, I think, or Android apps. And if you've never used PowerPoint Presenter Coach, especially if you have a big presentation coming up, like I'd only reserve it for the ones where, I've spoken at Ignite a couple times. That's one where like I practice my session a number of times before I give it live, because I need to make sure that my time limit makes sense and I say what I want to say, my notes are correct. But if you've never used it, it's great because the tool comes back with how fast you speak. I speak way too fast. So it tells me slow the hell down. It will tell you if your words are a little bit too, complex potentially for the audience. It'll tell you if you are being a little bit too, risque, I guess. Not using foul language, but also being a little bit more, I guess I'll say like gender neutral. Like it always hits me for using the word guys instead of saying like folks or you or all or audience or us or whatever. And then it will give you a bunch of metrics, like the pace, things like that, how long you spend on each slide, whether you're reading the words on the slide, because it's smart enough to know the words and listen to what you're saying and try to, match them up and say, hey, stop reading the slides. So I think that's a great feature. And if you're not using that already, you should. And now the fact that it's coming out to the desktop, which, I don't care how advanced the web apps have become, people still love their desktop app. That is their blankie in many respects. So if they don't use the web app, they don't know that feature exists. So the fact that those are now coming to some of the other apps, I think is fantastic. And it's just a really, really cool feature. And I've used it a couple times for really big things, and it really makes a difference. Have you tried it out? Have you ever used it before for a legit thing?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm sure I've told you before, but I used to teach a PowerPoint psychology class, and part of that is kind of like a presentation
you did?
skills. Yeah.
I want this class.
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, even just little things like you've got 30 minutes to the presentation. What's the least amount you can do to make it look like you tried? Just invert the colors. Black background, white text, because we're programmed to see white background, black text, and immediately think you just threw text on a slide. But when you invert it, it feels deliberate. It's such an interesting little things like that. I'll totally run it through you one of these days.
No kidding.
Yeah, but so I used to teach a class along those lines, and so much, 50% of it is kind of like the visual, like what little things can you do or shouldn't do. But the other half of it is like presentation skills, making sure that you are, hitting the right things, that you're not saying, just reading the slides.
Yeah.
I really, really, really love the idea that there could be a technology that does that, so that people don't have to sit down through a training session in order to imbue that knowledge. They
Yeah.
also just incorporated, I don't know if you read the blog post, but they incorporated body language into the analytics now,
Whoa.
and like facial obstructions. So there's some really cool stuff that they're doing beyond that I'm just absolutely stoked by.
That's super cool. Well, I'm very excited by that, and I think it's a major improvement, and nice to see that feature come from just being a cloud-only feature and being actually allowed on the desktop, which, of course, I'm sure you still have to be connected to the cloud through the internet, just because, it's got to go through. Again, Skynet has to read everything before it lets it out. But, yeah, I'm super excited about that. All right, and that brings us to the upcoming community events. So coming soon to the events world, the Microsoft Business Apps launch event on April 6th, Collab Days Nordics on May 10th, M365 Philly May 14th, Teams Nation Conference May 26th, and the M365 Collab Conference June 8th. And just added to the list, M365 Friday Cabo on November 12th, ay que lindo! Collab Days Cologne, October 8th, Collab Days Lisbon, October 16th, and Collab Days Belgium, October 23rd. As always, view the complete list of events at the link list below or in the video description. And our community member of the week is a special one. Okay, we normally do not highlight Microsoft employees. Hey, they're paid to be community members, right? But technically, he's no longer an employee. That said, we would have given it to him anyway, probably. If you haven't heard, Jon Levesque, the Firebrand platform evangelist extraordinaire, initially for Microsoft Flow, but eventually for the entire Power Platform, has left Microsoft for a new role elsewhere in the tech sector. So Jon is one of my favorite aspects of the Microsoft ecosystem. I met him at Ignite 2017. We hit it off instantly. The man proves that we really need to reconsider whether perpetual motion is a thing. His wit, energy, and style just always make for an incredible experience with him. And his passion, kindness, and dedication to inclusion for all on a platform that seems scary to many are second to none. Each time I see him, I need a vacation afterwards because he's just so much and in the best ways. Jon, I know you've got a close relationship with Jon too.
Yeah, I mean, so I met Jon at SharePoint Conference 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and likewise, just, I mean, there is no better representation of, all rising tides raise all boats. Like, Jon has always been somebody to, try to elevate people, to, let them maximize what it is that they bring to the community. And I think that that's been his greatest asset. His greatest asset has never been necessarily the technical knowledge that he brings to it, but his ability to excite people and make them want to be better, to learn more, to contribute more. We jumped off of the that tower in Las Vegas with I had known him for like 24 hours, and we were like, we got to go jump off the stratosphere.
Clearly. Yeah.
But no, there's no better representation of what Microsoft should be looking for in a community evangelist than Jon Levesque.
Yep, definitely. And not only have we broken bread and shared drinks together in a number of domestic and international cities, including a Swiss Sunday eating, drinking, and exploring that I will never forget. But he even invited me and my girlfriend to stay at his house to help me defray the cost of attending a conference in Seattle a couple years ago. So he's a true class act. Jon, I can't wait to see what you do in the new role. They're lucky to have you, and we'll leave links to his heartfelt farewell video and his amazing YouTube channel because even though he's left, his Power Platform content will definitely live on for a while. So love you, bud.
One quick prediction: how long do you think it takes before he becomes MVP?
Oh God, I have no idea, but it's gonna be before you.
It's no kidding.
Oh,
oh man.
Sorry.
I'm calling it now. I'm saying
it's not your
3
fault,
months.
man. It's not your fault.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be quick. I'm sure. All right, well, I think that about does it. Thanks so much for watching. As always, a like and a subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below to start discussion. Say hello, say goodbye to Jon, too, if you want to. I'm sure he'll check this out once we mention him on Twitter and social medias. And Sean, thanks for joining me this week, and I can't wait to hang out with you and everyone watching again next week. Take care. So we spent an entire afternoon just eating like local Swiss sausage and drinking local beer and just like walking around downtown Zurich. It was fantastic. The weather was awesome. But Jon was always great for like sneaking people into things. Did he ever get you into anything good?
So, yes, lots of times. The one that comes to mind is I think it was right before the Red Party at Ignite 2019. We were going to hang out to kind of gear up. And so John was like, oh, there's this team party. And it's the Teams product team and a couple of, VIPs in that space. And so he goes and he hunts down Lori Pottmeyer and he says, hey, I really want to come to the Teams party. Can I bring a couple of people? And I forget exactly what, because it was like an intense negotiation, but he comes back and he's like, we're all in. And so there's like 10
which
of us.
Which means he was told no, but he brought you anyway.
We were on a list. But so we show up at the Teams party and there's like a Teams branded Hummer limo, and like a neon sign, and it was so much fun.
Yep.
And then right after that, I think we jumped onto like a party bus or something on the way over.
Yep, that sounds about right.
What about you? Did you break into anything?
On my end, my first Ignite was 2017, and we went to the Metalogics party. So that they don't technically exist any longer because they're Quest, but we'll run with. I met him that night, and he's like, "Dude, love you. Let's get you up into the VIP area up here where they have the hats." And he brought us up into the VIP area. I did not belong there. Nobody had any idea who I was, and like, oh well, you got a hat on, and like that was where I first met Julia White and a number of the other CVPs were hanging out because of course they would invite them and have them around. And we had a great time. That's where I met most of the Flow team. And that's where it kind of kicked off for me being, much more on the business app side of things, not just being all teams. But yeah, I got that hat. That's all that mattered was Matt Wade and the Metalogics hat.